again, I want to be very clear. I'm not changing my opinion. $60 oil is my call. I'm watching it because, again, I think one of the things that got Trump elected, probably the thing, right? You can argue whether it was immigration or
Yep.
prices, inflation. It's one A and one B.
Yeah,
Your
totally.
orders. Yeah, he's going to want to make hay, and the best thing to get down, which will ripple through the entire economy and cause deflation nearly everywhere, is oil. Alrighty, folks, we are actually recording this at 8 a.m. on January 20th, which makes it, I believe, the last hour of Joe Biden's administration. I believe at 9 a.m. or shortly thereafter, Trump will be sworn in. And then the noise, the chaos, the media will lose their freaking mind with all of these executive orders. I want to actually step back, get above the fray, get out of the noise, and ask Taylor, what is the one or two things he is looking for over the next 90 days? I have my list of two, but it'll be interesting to see what Taylor has to say, man. It is about to get loud, Taylor. What's going on?
Yes, it is. Are we going to overlap with any of these things? That's the interesting point to me. Are we watching the same things? I think that what I'm watching most clearly right now, and I think is affecting all of the markets like it always does, is the most important thing is interest rates. And that's the thing that I'm most focused on right now. And they've been incredibly, incredibly volatile over the past 4 or 5 months. Since the Trump trade set in, interest rates have ripped. And it can mean one of a bunch of different things. And fighting through that noise to figure out what the actual cause of that is what's going to be the most interesting thing to watch.
That's funny. Yeah, that was my number two. My number two was the 10-year note. And as I said in the daily financial news, I want to know are we going to restart the run up to 5%, right? Because we saw some give back Thursday, Friday, or will the trajectory, bring us back closer to 4%?
Yep.
I believe either side is possible. Absolutely. I could see rates going to 5. I could see them going to 4. What I do know is it will be meaningful either way, right?
Totally.
At 5%, the real estate market and any debt market, right? Cars, any of that stays frozen. We get the 10-year on a downward trajectory to 4%, and we get a collapse in spread from 10-year to 30-year. Real estate, might get some paddles to the heart and get reinvigorated. I do think the 10-year is the second most important thing I am watching. Because again, I think when you talk about the Trump trade going in and it ripped higher and then rolled over Thursday, Friday, my belief is, right, big money doesn't like uncertainty, right? The bond market doesn't like uncertainty. And whether we like it or not, we're about to get a whole lot of certainty. And certainty is about to smack us in the face.
Totally.
So I'll be curious to see what happens.
Yeah. It's the uncertainty thing is an interesting one because the bond market hasn't been acting well, broadly speaking, since Trump, began his rally in the election cycle and then obviously on to victory. But the stock market loves it. So it's interesting to see that dichotomy play out between one side saying, hey, there are so many outstanding question marks right now that we have to fight through to figure out what do tariffs actually mean? How do we actually enact them? So on and so forth. And what's the counterparty's response to things like tariffs? And then the other side is like, stocks are like whistling by the graveyard, just saying, hey, whatever, let's rock and roll. We got a pro-economic dude here in White House now, and he's bringing along his billionaire friends who are going to reinvigorate things and cut costs to the bone and strip out $2 trillion worth of fat. And the salesman that Trump has applied to the stock market. It has not applied to the bond market.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got my number two. Let's see if you could go 2 for 2 and guess my number one thing I'll be watching for over the next 30 or 90 days. What is the second one for you?
So we talking economy, broadly speaking?
Yeah, broadly speaking. What's it, something you're going to note today and you'll look at in 90 days? It could be tariffs. It could be taxes. It could be anything. What's the second?
I think the biggest thing outstanding, no doubt, is tariffs. And that's going to impact the other side, but I know I'm not right because you just said that, and you wouldn't have said that.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
You know me well. You know me well.
You don't lead the witness and give him the answer.
No. So yeah, it's funny. I mean, tariffs are like 4, 5, 6 on my list. They're kind of below the line. I I understand Trump, the negotiator, right? The sable rattler, the threatener. He's a bully.
I think
And
everyone thinks they understand Trump, and I don't think anyone understands Trump
dude,
because looking at the last bout of tariffs that we went through and the last election cycle, and he comes in and nothing happened the way that anybody thought it was going to happen.
Well, it's funny because I actually called it yesterday on TikTok. I said, guys, TikTok's going to go dark for. I said I wanted to
45
say
minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to say less than 24 hours, but I gave myself an out and I said by Friday. I should have just said less than 24 hours. And it went exactly like I expected. He's going to come
Well, by the way, did you actually, I don't know if you're on TikTok, did you actually read the messaging? Oh, the messaging is amazing. So I was up later than normal on, I guess it's Saturday night, our time. So around 11 o'clock p.m. Saturday night, it came out and went black. And it said, we are working closely with President Trump to try to fix this, et cetera. It comes back on and it says, thanks to President Trump. I was just like, oh, this is awesome.
It's exactly, again, people can go watch my daily financial news from yesterday morning before.
I'll go watch it. I want to see exactly what you said. That's awesome.
I said, it's going to come back. Trump is going to be seen as a savior. He's going to get the whole Gen Z arena to think he's, on their, I mean, you go watch it. I called it. It was live. I just wish I had the cojones to say 24 hours because that's what I believe, but I gave myself till Friday. So
I don't mean to cut you off before you get to your next point, but let me ask you this. I have a very clear vested interest. We have 180,000 followers, something like that on TikTok. So clearly I wanted it back out of selfish reasons of it drives business to our company, to our wealth advisory firm. Mm-hmm. But I totally see both sides of it. And the fact that like the one glaring thing that sits out there that like just makes this nagging thought in the back of my head of like, should we actually be utilizing this is our social media is not allowed in China. Oh, so this is like, hey, we're going out of our way to go against China. It's like, well, yeah, but they're doing the same thing.
Well, if you really want my opinion, I think it is 100% spyware and should be removed because of national security reasons. So that's my honest opinion. Yep. I do think you can get to the business level of no reciprocity and this, that, the other. I think it's spyware and it should be zapped from, everybody's phone in my opinion.
And I disagree out of self-interest, but I don't disagree. And the fact that the algorithm, and again, it's hearsay because I'm not in China seeing what they're seeing, but is spiraling up things that are educational videos, engineering, et cetera, and we're just putting dog shit on our side.
I've been to China. I've been to China multiple times. I have my wife, or Olivia's from Taiwan. We have family there, so I've seen lots of things in China, and it is absolutely true. If you pull up a kid's phone in China, it is all STEM, right? Science, technology, and whatever it is, whatever STEM is. And here it's dog shit. I think it's worse than that. Frankly, if that's all it was, I don't really care, right? You're a consumer, consume what you want, kind of my feeling. But I do believe that TikTok is nothing more than a spying system. And, they can turn on or off anything they want on anybody's phones. And they're trying to get, inside kids' phones so they can listen to what their parents are saying. And dude, I think it's a freaking national security hole, but, maybe I'm a little too far.
I love it. I put you right down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, exactly. Why'd you do that? But again, I called it. I said, Trump will turn it back on. He will get credit. And then I said, he's going to put a clock on it because he's a freaking negotiator. Yep. He's going to say, I want X, Y, and Z in 90 days, or I will let it go bye-bye because he doesn't care.
Yep.
I mean, that's his second term. He's not going for re-election. I don't know how old he is. He's 80 years old or whatever he is. Dude, this is it. Talk about the guy. He probably never really cared, but now he's like, I really don't give a fuck.
No F's given anywhere.
No F's given anywhere.
I think so. And maybe this is naive and self-interested again, but I think that something gets taken care of. I think something gets done.
We'll see. Absolutely. This is what, again, go watch yesterday. What's going to happen? And I think I said yesterday is it'll be owned by an American. Some billionaire or a collection of billionaires with Mr. Beast will own TikTok. They will spend, I don't know, a year stripping out the spyware that everybody's going to be shocked it was there. Oh my God, the spyware, they could turn on my microphone.
And then they're going to buy it for pennies on the dollar because they're going to be forced into a corner.
Yeah, like I'm the only one. Anyway, so that's what I think's happened. Go watch that. So here's my number two. It's my number one. Interest rates were number two. Number one, I'm watching oil.
Okay.
I believe today we will get some kind of declaration around emergency energy independence or creation. I believe I'll be watching $60 oil. That's what I'll be
For the
watching.
record, I think we've already gotten that. And today, meaning you're right. I think that there was I got a news flash prior to jumping on this call about, don't quote me on this because I didn't read it, didn't have time to, but I believe there was something that popped on emergency oil, etc.
So I'm watching oil. I think there's a very good chance that oil, I don't know, crashes, falls, collapses, whatever you want to call it, from 80 to 60.
On the backs of?
Just the investment that America's, we're already a net exporter and we're going to ramp that up.
Yeah.
Not to mention that the Houthis, as of this morning, said they're going to stop firing at US and UK ships, which will help transportation. The fact that the war or skirmish or whatever we call the Israel-Hamas thing appears to be over. It is my hope that the Ukraine-Russia thing is over in the next 90 days and the world just enters a peaceful state. The extra, spread of oil because of this goes away. We could enter peace and oil goes to 60. That's what I'm watching. That's my number one. Because again, why is it number one over rates? I mean, again, as a real estate guy, you would think rates are most important. No, in my opinion, the middle class, the lower, the folks that feel higher gas prices and energy, and a 25% drop in oil is deflationary because it's in everything.
Yeah.
So that's my number one, oil.
Yeah, I just don't think there's a vested interest on the producer side to drive it down that low. There is margin to be had in the Permian Basin at anything above about $40 a barrel. So it's not to say that they can't be profitable there. But to quote Billy Bob Thornton, I don't know if you watch the show Landman, which is just an amazing show. Oh my gosh, it's awesome.
I haven't seen it. What is it on?
It's on Paramount Plus, and Billy Bob Thornton is essentially the go-between between the CEO of a company and everything from the oil rigs to dealing with the cartel, et cetera. It's an amazing show. He is vulgar, as you know. Billy Bob Thornton's vulgar.
Yeah. So Landman, I'm always looking for
Landman. Oh, I guarantee you enjoy it. I don't have any reservations in saying so. But to quote him in that show, and it is oil. The whole thing is predicated in the oil patch. He says that the ideal price for oil for producers and consumers is $78 a barrel. Right now, it says it's 76. And his point there was, obviously, as producers, as the price goes up, that's beneficial to their profit margins, but at the same time, it starts to squeeze on the other end of the consumer. And as prices come down too much, it's anti-beneficial it's detrimental to the oil producer. And I think that there's, kind of a give and take on both sides of, hey, do we flood the market? And, potentially at the end of the day, like, we think that we can dominate this market and we are now the largest producer of oil in the world. When you combine all things, natural gas, oil, et cetera, we have about a 50% larger supply coming to market than Saudi Arabia does right now. But nonetheless, like, they can stick a straw in the ground and oil squirts out.
Again, I want to be very clear. I'm not changing my opinion. $60 oil is my call. I'm watching it because, again, I think one of the things that got Trump elected, probably the thing, right? You can argue whether it was immigration or prices, inflation. It's 1A and 1B.
Totally.
Orders. Yeah. He's going to want to make hay. And the best thing to get down, which will ripple through the entire economy and cause deflation nearly everywhere, is oil. So my guess is he turns on the spigot in a huge way. Now, do I think we have $60 oil for the year? No, because I do think at some point, this, that, the other thing happens. But oh boy, in 90 days, he could do something. So again, that's the first thing I'm watching for, because again, I think it impacts everyone. It will lower food prices. It will lower gas prices. It could lower lots of things, and again, just keep the, hopefully the positive momentum going. So I'll be watching oil as my number one thing.
Yeah, well, you have a sound argument there, because your number one affects number two, right? I mean, interest rates are more important on the whole, but if oil is going to impact where interest rates go, when you're correct that oil prices coming down, leading to less inflationary pressure in everything, then it impacts what I think is more important, which is interest rates. But again, if you're saying, hey, let's go up the food chain here and focus on oil, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Other things to be looking at, obviously, we could talk about immigration, tariffs. Again, I think tariffs are a big stick that swung around that will turn into nearly nothing. I think the whole goal is fairer trade, which I don't know why anybody could think that's a bad thing. Yeah. Anything else you're kind of watching out there? How about taxes? What about these taxes that are expiring this year? It looks to be extended and possibly grow under reconciliation. Are you watching tax changes at all?
Yeah, I think that there will be I think the impact of taxes being changed, because essentially it's just an extenuation of what we're currently facing. But corporate taxes should get squeezed, so that's undoubtedly a positive. I think that you are over minimizing the impact of what could happen with tariffs. I think it's a massive wild card. And I don't necessarily mean a bad, I do see more downside, don't get me wrong. So maybe it is a bad thing. I see more downside than upside to the impact of what tariffs could do. But I think that there is a massive outstanding question mark there. Last time we got China to the table and they said they're going to buy $200 billion of soybeans from us. And that was already supposed to happen. And it just has not happened. So the fact that we can just bully our way into things and come out with the impact that we want, I think it's a little bit unfounded.
Yeah, again, on tariffs, I want to be very clear. Again, looking at the negotiator, I do see tariffs as a risk 6 months out, 9 months out. It's just not 90 days out. And the reason I say that is, again, he's going to use a clock. He's going to be swinging this big club. He's going to force people to the table. And it's only at the point of not getting what he wants that he'll throw in the tariffs. Right. I don't see tariffs. I could, for example, January 20th. I do not see, and again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong in 2 hours. So this might be dated very badly.
That's how quick things can change. You're exactly right.
That's right. Yeah. So I could be wrong in 2 hours. I do not see a tariff going on Mexico or Canada or China or anyone today.
Yeah, it's just the unknown nature of the whole thing. So we've set up this great trade deal between Canada, Mexico, and us, and now it's now we're going directly at them. It's tough for it's tough for me to wrap my head around it. And I do think there's the potential it happens more quickly than what you're alluding to.
I like it. It's for me on the
we
taxes.
We don't have to agree on everything, right?
Oh, no. I mean, actually, people love it when we disagree. So that's awesome. The one thing I'll tell you about the taxes is I think the extension of the existing tax credits is kind of a layup, maybe a free throw, to use a basketball analogy. But I actually think what's going to be more interesting is what gets added. I think the chances that we just extend what we already have is very low. I expect more goodies to be added. And it's actually interesting because I think there will be tax incentives added to create more power plants. I think one of the things that we are seeing very clearly is AI is an energy hog. And, we're seeing Amazon and Microsoft and Google, and you guys know the players. I think there's going to be some incentives to create, I don't know whether it's nuclear power or whatever it is, but I expect this new, tax incentives to include, let's go create some power plants because this AI thing is going to break our energy system.
I totally agree. One of the number one themes we've been talking about now for 8 months, and credit to my brother's my business partner, and he was the one that really brought this topic to the forefront at the beginning of last year, was the lack of energy. And the way you play that from an investment standpoint is infrastructure. And so you can buy it on the debt side, which is attractive. In our opinion, you can buy it on the equity side, which is attractive. It's not just the outright investment opportunity is attractive. It's also when you're building a portfolio, the correlation between what it does and when it acts well and the rest of the broad stock and bond market is incredibly low. So it creates this enormous diversification agent. And then also we think the outright investment is a phenomenal one as well. So it does so many things that are wonderful for the broad portfolio. But back to your point, I just don't know how it works if we give all these goodies. Like Scott Besson is a budget hawk. So again, I may have mentioned this on last week's show. I heard, and I don't remember who it was, but it was incredibly intelligent. I think it was a University of Texas professor. He said, listen, you could cut 75% of government employees right now, and it's a $200 to $300 billion change. So like, where are we coming up with this $2 trillion trimming of the fat? And then all of a sudden, we're also going to give all of these incentives on this side. It's like, are we going to blow out our budget deficit even further than it already is when we also are tracking on the other side saying that we're going to control it? It just, you can't have all the good without some bad along the way. And Elon, to his credit, came out and said overtly, $2 trillion is a fairy tale. He said, unless we go out Social Security, which we're not going to do, there is zero chance in hell we have the ability to get to $2 trillion worth of cuts.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Again, folks, I would advise, for most of us anyway, to just ignore the noise and whatnot of today, of tomorrow. Just keep doing what you're doing, right? Keep your head down. Don't let the news media do what it's very good at, riling you up, pissing you off, telling you the other side is, Hitler or evil or whatever they're going to say. And let's see what happens in the next 90 days. I think
this is going to be fun. This will be a fun one to go back and watch.
There you go. There you go. Well, Taylor, where can people find you? We've got it on the screen.
Yeah. So find us right there. If you're looking for a call with us at Life Goal Wealth Advisors to discuss your financials, click there. Financial planning, wealth management, investment portfolio management. And then we are also on Instagram and TikTok. We do 60-second daily videos. We're at Life Goal Investments there.
There you go, buddy. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.